Hello all. So good morning. Thanks for joining. So probably we can start the session. Today's session, it's about Corda. Based on the crowd, we can have the session as a probably hands-on, or otherwise we can have it as a basic session. And yeah, so we are a blockchain dream lab and running the Chennai blockchain developer community. And when we started, we are finding difficulties about blockchain learning. So we thought to have a group, and we have created it. And around 50 to 60 members are with us, and we do have some expertise blockchain developers. And mostly we will have a online session. And last week we discussed about the blockchain basics and also the use cases. So probably you guys can connect us on the hangout and our YouTube channel. And also please share your feedback after the session, so that would be help us to create the plan and all. So we request your feedback. And thanks for your time on a weekend. You are joining us, so definitely you will have a good learning. And maybe you can check about our services and everything in blockchain dream lab. And also this is non-profit based community. So that's about blockchain dream lab. And yeah, our today uh, Rangesh is going to take the session. He's a lead blockchain developer, and he has expertise in Ethereum, Hyperledger Fabric, and Corda. So he is actively working in building the enterprise applications to adapt the blockchain technology. So probably I will hand over it to Rangesh. Rangesh, you can lead the session. I mean, you can take care. I request all to be in mute, and you can post your comments or questions in the comment window. Thank you.
Thanks, Naveen. So you people are able to hear me, right? Is the audio clear? Anyone can just vote yes or something in the chat window. Yes, yeah, right. Uh, so we'll get started with Corda today. So I'll just give a brief about me. So I'm a blockchain lead developer, and I have worked across Ethereum, Fabric, and Corda as well. So in this session, uh, we'll get started with Corda. This is more of introduction stage. Like it would be like 50-50 technical and non-technical. So as you know, with time, we may have one more session completely getting hands-on Corda. So all technical people, please bear with me. This would be both uh, mix and pieces. Like it will be technical as well as non-technical. So I'll just get started. Right. So I'll just get started. So let me begin. Like I presume like the intended audience out there knows what blockchain is. So if not, can you just drop me a note in chat, so I'll tell you what blockchain is. Quick, quick, right? So I presume. Right, okay, there's Gopinath saying that he doesn't know what blockchain is. So yeah, so I'll just give you a quick intro about what blockchain is. Uh, so if you look at a blockchain, it's nothing but a distributed ledger which stores your record in a distributed manner. And one factor which distinguishes itself from the standard databases, uh, when you have two or more when you have two or more parties writing your data, the both party doesn't trust each other, and they have their own database. While in blockchain, you have that trust factor. uh, you have that trust factor. So both will share the same database, and both will write into same database, and each one will have every copy of it. And if something goes, if something goes wrong with the database, each can identify by cross checking who did the mistake, right? This is very basic version. Probably you can Google out more, uh, or get on getting started with blockchain. So assuming that this information is enough for me to start with Corda, I'll, I'll begin with Corda, right? So yeah, Corda, first off, is like important thing for all out there is Corda is a distributed ledger and not blockchain. When I say distributed ledger, if you look at blockchain, at any point of time, everybody will be able to see the records, right? So if I do a assume there are three nodes connected, A, B, C, and if a transaction goes through all three nodes, and all three would be able to see the transaction copy. While as in distributed DLT technologies, only the intended participants. Okay, if I send a transaction from A to B, only the intended participant will be able to see. Okay, so that what is the distinction between DLT and blockchain. Is this clear to the audience? So this is the basic. So I'll repeat it once again. So the difference between DLT and blockchain is like, assume I'm doing a transaction in blockchain. Uh, so that transaction will get replicated across nodes. It's visible to everybody. While in DLT, it's only the intended peer. So if I send a transaction from A to B, only A to B will see it, but not C. Clear with this? So can somebody just drop me a message if this is not clear, or shall I move forward? Because this is the fundas for you to go with Corda. Yeah. So yeah. So we'll just get started here and then come back to these 2 points, why and when Corda. Right. Rajakumaravel says maybe Raja, maybe like I think the session is recorded. Maybe you can just rewind it. So
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Gayatri asks one question. Coda is different from other. So by this, yeah, it's yes. This way, Coda is different from other blockchain platform. Other blockchain platform, in the sense, when you compare it with Ethereum or Fabric, yes, this is the way. So if you send me a transaction, all the nodes who are in the chain would come to know about my transaction. But in Corda, only the intended recipient will know. Will know about the transaction. Yeah, so that's the crunch of Corda. Okay, so we'll just come to that point exactly, and we'll have a yeah, we'll have a look at blockchain and Corda. Yeah, how about Hyperledger? Yeah, it's the same, Sri Krishna. So there's a notion of PDC, private data collections, in Hyperledger Fabric. So uh, so if you look at Hyperledger Fabric, if you have PDC, only the intended participant can see it, but uh, you cannot keep on growing PDC for every participants. It is more of like a bottleneck for Fabric. Is there any private? Okay, what is PDC? Yeah, yeah. What is PDC? Private data collection is something like when you form nodes in Hyperledger Fabric, you can directly send message to one particular node alone. That is called PDC. Okay, so it is something. Is it clear, Sri Krishna? Yeah, right. So is there any positions which is maintained? What is persistence? I don't understand. What is persistence? Do you mean persistence? Permissions, right? Is there any permission? Vinay will get into once we start digging deep into Corda. So I'll get to that point. Let's not jump the gun. Sorry. So. Uh, what is it? What is it? I think Corda is a DLT because it doesn't use blockchain. It does even Hyperledger is a provider, but ultimately it is a blockchain. Right, Bharat. Yeah. So presuming Bharat is a fabric developer, that's what I said you right. So you cannot keep on constructing private data collection. Uh, you know, even with Hyperledger Fabric, you can select one particular participant and just like that send a transaction to him, and other participant will not know it. Uh, so if you do that way, it behaves like Corda, but you cannot keep on constructing all those PDC. It is a bottleneck for you. So yeah. So I'll just stop here and pass here and I'll make you understand what blockchain, how blockchain and Corda differs. Um, so I'm not taking any more questions now. Um, right. So if you look at this, there are four participants: Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, Bank D, right? And see, when Bank A pays Bank B, here are the steps which involves a transaction in blockchain. So when Bank A pays Bank B, what happens is like this step one is being replicated across all of the chain. So if you look at Bank C ledger, you have the same data. If you see Bank D ledger, you have the same data. So it says Bank A pays Bank B. So the question comes here like when I pay from Bank A to Bank B, why should Bank C and Bank D know in a blockchain, right? So this is more of like a privacy concern, which nobody likes it, which had driven few of the blockchain stuffs, tweak blockchain, and they call it as DLT. Okay, it's more of like a tweaking blockchain and calling it as DLT. And yeah, DLT, distributed ledger technology, is not equal to blockchain. So let's look at the same step one in DLT. What happens is like Bank A pays to Bank B, and he pays $5. Okay, and if you look at Bank B's ledger, it says Bank A pays Bank B $5. And if you look at Bank C's and Bank D ledger, there's no transaction in it. So only intended participant Bank A and Bank B knows that I have transferred X amount to Bank B. Is this clear to all of you? Yes. Yeah. So any questions or queries on this? So this is the crunch of Corda, right? And what it offers is it offers privacy. It gives me an advantage to whom I must send my transaction. So I need not know about everybody. It saves me space. It saves my ledger data. I need not replicate everything, unlike the standard blockchain in Fabric or Ethereum or EO or stuffs. Okay, so I need not. My ledger data will not increase at any point of time. So I'll only own my own transactions. Okay, and yes, Corda is open source. Okay, and the crunch of Corda. How does all this works? So if you look at the base is Bitcoin. So what Corda did is like, if you look at Bitcoin, it supports only UTF-8 transactions. That is, uh, you could only do transactions like it could say only unspent transactions in Bitcoin. So let me give you a brief about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin works on forth like programming language. Okay, so it's more of like a stack programming language where it maintains what are all the data, what are all the amount, or what are all the data it has been stored, and it will just do the LIFO structure, LIFO structure. So what and it could only store currencies. Okay, and what Coda people did is, why should we alone store currencies in it? So let's grab the technology. Let's grab the Bitcoin idea. it all looks good. So let's create more than storing currency. Let's create our business models. Let's create our transactions fit in it. Let's write our own code where I could validate or do transaction on my business model. Okay, so Corda basically operates as with Bitcoin as its base technology. Okay, and it modifies few of the Bitcoin structures and and it uses its own notion of programming methodology to achieve the DLT stuffs. Okay, and all this ledger transaction you see here, right, is all tweaked on Bitcoin structures. Is this clear? I just said that because few technical folks might be interested on that. And Krishna asks, which business model does what does business model mean, Krishna? I B2B, yeah, that's see that depends upon the scenarios. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Bharat said has given you answer, I suppose. So it is same like your application. So like I'll give you a small example. Like presume like if I understood your question, Krishna, like you want to know where quota can be put into. Is that right? Yeah. Uh, so yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think few folks are answering better. So it's see this is something like a provider or a software service like Java, .NET, or whatever you want. So it's like you have your business model and you say see first of all to qualify your problem. If it qualifies, see, your problem must qualify two things. One is, are there more than two participants writing into my same database? And do you people maintain different database? Okay, so do you share, assume there are three participants and all three participants don't share your database, and but all three participants communicate with each other within the maintaining their own database. Okay, if that's the case, that's the clear problem for blockchain. And if it is blockchain, you must think whether you want to go with private or a public network. And if it's private, you want to think about uh, are all my participants transaction private to each other, or are they okay with seeing other transaction? If they say like I don't want to, if they say like I don't want to see the other intended participant transaction, then you go to Corda. But if they say it's okay, I don't bother, but we all want same database, then you go with Hyperledger or Ethereum. Is that clear, Krishna? Right. So yeah, so this is I'm now I'll dig into what Corda is. I assume you people have understood blockchain, Corda, and what DLT is. So I'll start with Corda. This is more of like this session is more of like uh, you know mm, yeah, this session is more of like the in-depth details of what Corda is made up of. This is more of like components, how they achieve this DLT steps, right? So I'll get started with uh, this introduction phase. So when I say it's peer-to-peer, Corda is just a DLT, and it offers peer-to-peer communication. When I say peer-to-peer communication, if there are four nodes here, A, B, C, D, and A must pick among B, and A can pick among D, and A can pick among C. So it's like it's direct peer-to-peer message. So A can pick among the nodes which it wants to interact with, and it can do the transaction in a peer mode, right? And there is one important notion called as doorman service. So this is abstracted when you implement Corda, or when you get started with Corda. This is abstracted. And all these nodes need to have some kind of certification. So if other intruder called I comes, if there is other intruder node joining this network, right? So you need some kind of security to prevent that. So domain service is more of like certificate issuing authority, and you don't have any choice or custom implementation of domain service in Corda. And network map, yeah. So network map is just like saying if you just query the network map, you could see who are all the participants in the network, and you query the network map and get the address of other node, and you can communicate with them. Yes. So we'll get started with the granular level of Corda. So how do you code it, or how does it how do you get started with it? So all of your business model, right? So assume like we are building an IOU model. Okay. So this is the problem statement is like this. So yeah, I see a couple of questions. That gets fitted into Corda. So states are more of like POCO classes. So I believe the audience out there would have definitely been introduced to any of the framework like Java, .NET, COBOL, or whatever language it is, and you must be definitely aware of POCO classes or POJO classes. So this is more of like an entity. So assume like we are building an application called IOU. Okay, so this is like assume the intention of IOU application is to there are two participants. One is borrower and lender. So borrower will get get some few steps from the lender. So he'll get money from lender. Okay, so if you look at this problem, so you have participant called as borrower, and you have amount as a data field, right? So and you have date, timestamps, and all those are your data fields, right? So what you do is you have all those business models or entities as states, and all states should implement contract states, and you have different types of states. One is linear states, another one is ownable state. So when you say linear state, what does it represent? So it could represent anything like agreements, bonds, steps, which are non-fungible, right? So if you look at the other called as ownable state, which is fungible, and uh, and you represent cash. See, if you look at cash, it can be splitted, like an owner may change, right? So you have this notion called as states to represent your data models. So this is the very basic level steps. So to get started with Corda, you define your data model as states. So number two is contracts. So what are contracts in Corda? So so contracts are rules and constraints that is responsible for evaluation of states. For instance, assume like I have a method uh, which accepts only positive numbers, right? So you don't want your method to accept negative numbers. So you could do that with contract. So uh, this is more of like more of like validation steps, which you can put into the state model. So so yes, so this is about contracts, and they should follow this interfaces. So if you look at states, it implements contract states. So if you look at contract, it must implement a contract interface, and all your validation should go into a single method called verify, right? And yeah, so there are three types of constraints with contracts. One is attribute, types, and signature constraint. So you include all your business validation. For instance, I gave you an example like you cannot include negative numbers, right? So all those go into attribute constraint, and there is something called as type constraint. So if you look at states, right? There are two important things. One is input state, another one is output state. So all of the data models or all of the steps in Corda will be associated with state. So what does input state mean is like uh, an input state will have no chain. So this is more of like a genesis block. Okay, this is where your application has begun in. So this is more of like genesis block, and you have started your business model, or you have started with your data with genesis block, and there will be no output state for your input state. Clear? And if you want to propagate through the states, you got to define your state as output state. For instance, I begin with a genesis block, and I'll have one more block on top of it. So that is called as output state. I just want to make sure that you are clear with this. So can I say can I have something in the chat? If you are not clear, I want to explain this again on the input and the output state. Right, Bharat states it's not clear. So you are clear with state, right? What state is in Corda, right? So everybody, I believe state. So state is like, right? Can I explain with diagram? Yeah, I'll do that. I think I have one. I think I have one. Sorry, I didn't have it in the PPT. Right. You see this? Pardon, like I didn't have it in the PowerPoint. Presuming states is simple concept. So this is it. So when you start when you start with the data model or the state, so everything will begin with zero state. So this is more of like uh, this is more of like uh, this is more of like zero block, right? This is more of like genesis block, right? So I begin my state with this, and then traverse or do evaluation, or I do evaluation of state from here. So I assume with zero state, and then I modify some of my state, and that will be linked as a block here, right? And again if you modify it, so again if you modify this is nothing but, if you look at this particular state, everything is a state. So if you look at this, the input is zero state, the genesis block. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Bharat. It starts with uh, zero state or the genesis block, and that is called as the first input state. So for you to create one more state, you must start with the zero block or the input of previous block or the previous state. Is this clear, Sai Krishna? Sorry, Sri Krishna, right? Yeah. So this is called as the output state. So if you look at, this is the input state, this is the output state, right? So every block for the state evaluation will require, you begin with you have one consumed state. This is called as consumed. So once the state is consumed, you cannot modify it. So this is called as consumed state. And you see this historic label here, right? So this means that it has been consumed and nobody can use it, or nobody can forge it, or nobody can modify it. So if you want to modify this, you again accept this as input and you create one more output state. Is this clear? Is this clear to all? This is very basic or very necessity for you to write. What's that block contains other than time stamp? No, see, Amir Reddy, it contains your data model. Could be anything. It could be anything. For instance, if you want to just record this session, okay, this session will take the Zoom session which I'm conducting. This session will take parameters like what, who's the host, who's at what time he started, and what is the host name, and what is his experience, and everything can be included in state. This is the data model. You can have anything in it. Clear with this? Yeah, right.
Uh,
So
Rangesh, sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you. Due to the Zoom software, another 3 minutes it will get over. So
yeah.
till time, I
So
request you to take the questions, and I request all to join after that.
right. So you have any questions here? I have 3 minutes left.
Yep. Earlier, like a few guys posted some questions. So, like for example,
What makes a state considered as consumed state? So when you modify it, so assume like I want to modify my data. So assume like my name is Rangesh and I want to modify it to some other name, Suren. Okay. So to do that, I must go to that previous block which would be as unconsumed. I got to consume it and create a new block with new name as Suren and mark it as unconsumed. Is it clear, Suren? Yeah. Any other questions? During data model, do we consider like primary keys, foreign keys? Uh, why you would consume unless it is needed? Yeah. During data model phase and Corda, do we consider like yeah, you have all those database stuffs, Sandeep. That is like you could you have all those primary key and foreign key relationship maintained in database. So you have the options of switching database. You could go with relational database. So people go for blockchain. And why would you consume unless it is needed? Krishna, I don't understand this. So people go for blockchain or Corda for minimizing by sharing the database. That is one of the uh, positive things or stuffs with you could go ahead, Gopina. So is my understanding that each transaction internally holds a transaction which is based upon UTXO model, whereas in normal blockchain transaction is a record in the blockchain. Yes, Bharat, it's right. It is right. So a state will have either consumed or unconsumed state, and only state which is unconsumed can be consumed. Is this clear, or am I confusing you? So
Okay,
state can, yeah.
what are the number of transactions per second in possible in Corda?
So the benchmark was around 3,500, I suppose. Per, per
3,500.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure though. I
So,
don't have the numbers with me right now.
okay. So, can I process a large file in Corda? Is it possible?
Why do you want to do that? So what is your
So,
business
if
need?
yeah, it's for as per my requirements, my existing business actually. So every day, so more than 100 files will be processed. Is it possible to process the same things here?